Live with Simon McCoy, weekdays at 2 p.m. on the BBC News Channel.
The big winner of the budget is the NHS, says a leading think tank, but warns yesterday's budget may be a bit of a gamble with the public finances. The Institute for Fiscal Studies also says that more than 2 million families on universal credit, the new flagship benefit, will be hundreds of pounds better off a year, but some public services will continue feeling the squeeze.
The big winner yesterday was the health service. For other public services, there wasn't much extra money at all. We might be at the end of cuts, but we're not going to be offsetting the cuts that have happened over the last 7 or 8 years. If I was a prison governor, if I was a head teacher, if I was running a local authority, I wouldn't be breaking out the champagne just yet.
We'll be looking at the latest figures also this lunchtime. Germany's worst post-war serial killer. A nurse admits being responsible for the deaths of 100 patients in his care. Forensic teams start digging up a garden in the West Midlands 32 years after estate agent Susie Lamplugh went missing in London. NATO carries out its largest exercise since the end of the Cold War, with drills taking place from Iceland to the Baltic. And willy-wanging in New Zealand as Meghan takes on her husband and wins.
In sport on BBC News, England captain Steph Houghton could earn her 100th cap after being named alongside 3 uncapped players in the squad for next month's friendlies with Austria and Sweden.
Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. The leading think tank, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, says it believes yesterday's budget is a bit of a gamble with the public finances and the Chancellor may have to borrow more in future. After analysing the figures, the independent research group says the big winner of the budget is the NHS, but other public services will continue to feel the squeeze. The IFS also highlighted big gains for 2.5 million families on the government's new flagship benefit, universal credits. Some will be £600 better off a year. Our political correspondent Leila Nathu reports. Lister, thank you. The time is just after 1:15. Our top story this lunchtime. The big winner of the budget is the NHS, says a leading think tank, but warns yesterday's budget may be a bit of a gamble with the public finances. And coming up, why one of the most biodiverse places in the world is being destroyed partly because of our demand for soybeans.
Coming up on BBC News, England midfielder Dele Alli says he's excited to see what the future holds after signing a new deal to keep him at Tottenham Hotspur until 2024.
The way some of our food is produced is devastating the environment and communities, according to a new report by the World Wildlife Fund. Farming is partly responsible, with more land being deforested to meet the global demand for soybeans, a cheap protein used in animal feed. The Cerrado savanna in Brazil is the size of Western Europe and one of the most biodiverse places in the world. WWF says that at one point, an area of the Cerrado the size of Greater London was disappearing every 2 months. Our correspondent, Adina Campbell, has been to the region to meet some of the people affected.
Weather as we head towards the weekend, so a very mixed weekend on the way. Not great for the fireworks, perhaps.
Darren, thank you. A reminder now of our main story this lunchtime. The big winner of the budget is the NHS, says a leading think tank, but warns that yesterday's budget may be a bit of a gamble with the public finances.
The big winner yesterday was the health service. For other public services, there wasn't much extra money at all. We might be at the end of cuts, but we're not going to be offsetting the cuts that have happened over the last 7 or 8 years. If I was a prison governor, if I was a head teacher, if I was running a local authority, I wouldn't be breaking out the champagne just yet.
That's all from the BBC News at 1. It's goodbye from me on BBC One. We now join the BBC's news teams where you are. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, I'm Hugh Wozencroft with a look at the day's sport here on BBC News. And hundreds have been continuing to flock to the King Power Stadium in Leicester today to pay their respects.